Hey, what's up, everyone? Dan Tortora here of Superpowered Pop inside of the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne Studios, PBKW for short. Parker Banner Kent and Wayne is your one-stop shop for comic books and gaming. You could go and find them on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina. It is just outside of Charlotte. And of course, once again, that's 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A. We're here today, as you can see, to talk about Venom and this white spider on the chest that we don't see in the movies. Why? I don't know. Now, there's been the notion that there's some legal stuff with this, but here's the thing. We saw the white spider on the chest of Spider-Woman being in the recent Madam Web fiasco of a story. Now, Madam Web could have been very good. I discussed that in another episode of Superpowered Pop. You could check it out on our YouTube channel. And, of course, make sure that you subscribe to us while you're here with us on YouTube as well as Facebook. Make sure you to follow us there at Superpowered Pop. That's powered, P-O-W-E-R-E-D, Superpowered Pop on Facebook, X, and Instagram. I don't understand. Now, there was the notion when the first Venom movie with Tom Hardy came out that, and I want to preface this by saying I don't think Tom Hardy's done a bad job. I want to be clear about that. We're talking about other things here that are not his decision. This spider is Venom. This is the spider that is on his chest. Why? Because the symbiote, and I know symbiote, the million ways that people say it, tomato, I say symbiote. And symbiote is what we heard in the movie. But symbiote is what I'm going to say here. So if you freak out because that's the way I say it, well, this is the way I say it. So symbiote, I mean, you hear it different. You hear it some that way, some the other way. Symbiote just sounds like it takes a really long time to get out. And it sounds like goat. It's kind of strange. Anywho, so I've digressed. The symbiote in the comics, I'm a big fan of Venom. And in the comics, the alien symbiote comes back with John Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson's son, from the moon. He doesn't know that this is on the ship. And it's when the NASA spacecraft when the space shuttle crashes back to Earth, when it comes back to Earth, the alien escapes this symbiote. And the symbiote eventually, this black-looking goo, it attaches itself to Spider-Man, which turns into the black-suited Spider-Man. And attaching itself to Spider-Man, the alien symbiote mimics all of his powers. So when it eventually comes off of Peter Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man, and latches onto Eddie Brock, that is why Eddie Brock can have all the powers of Spider-Man, all the memories of Spider-Man, everything that Peter Parker knows. Venom knows. This alien symbiote bonds with Eddie Brock and forms Venom. So doing an entire Venom story without the origin story of a character makes no sense, but Sony has proven that they really don't care about origins. We're going to see a Kraven the Hunter essentially get super animal powers from a drop of lion's blood that goes into his arm. We'll see what that's going to be like. Just strange occurrences that have happened with Sony not sticking to the source material. And look at how upset fans got with Fox not sticking to the source material when it came to the X-Men. Deadpool felt very on point. That's why I think it did so well. But when you look at Venom, Venom's entire story is the alien symbiote. The alien symbiote crash lands, it's by itself. It attaches to Peter Parker. Black-suited Spider-Man, all that stuff that I said. And then when it comes off of Peter, it has all of his memories and all of his powers, and it goes on to Eddie, and it creates Venom. Eddie Brock and the symbiote form Venom. Venom is not Venom the symbiote. Venom is Venom when they join together. We are Venom. So the confusion comes with these movies saying the symbiote is Venom. It's always been Venom. That's his name. The symbiotes all have their own names and this, that, whatever. Where growing up as a kid, I felt like it was the symbiote, Eddie Brock together. They are Venom. And how do you create this character without the backstory of Spider-Man and that whole connection? It doesn't make any sense, but yet Sony decided to do it anyways. I'm happy that Venom got a movie. I'm happy that Venom has 2 under his belt, and Tom Hardy's about to have a 3rd here right around my birthday in October of 2024. But not having the spider makes no sense, because I know that there's been the hinting that there could be legal ramifications, but my question would be, what are those legal ramifications? Because Sony has the rights to the Spider-Verse. Not only Spider-Man, but all the characters that are attached to Spider-Man, which has been said to be over 900 characters, including Venom. So Madam Web, which paid attention to really nothing when they made that movie, and I don't know Madam Web's story enough, so I'm not saying that it doesn't pay attention to her. It just, doing the Madam Web show that we did, go back and watch it, it didn't connect us to really anything. All these movies feel like standalone universes, like Madam Web's in her own universe. Let's call her universe 9001, right? And if there's already one out there, I'm not trying to confuse you all. Let's just say that, right? So let's call Madam Web her Sony thing. Let's call it 9001. Let's call Venom's 9002. Let's call Andrew Garfield's 9003. Or maybe it's 9002 and Venom and him haven't met up yet. Let's call Toby's 9004, right? And so on and so forth. Because these don't make any sense. Sony's universe doesn't make any sense. And I know it has a numerical number, but it doesn't make sense to the source material. And what I don't understand is, if you're going to make a movie based on a book or a comic book or a graphic novel, you're basing it in history that pre-exists. That pre-existing history is followed by people. Those people are the true fans. Those true fans are the ones that are going to really speak to what this story is and if they're staying true to it. So why make a movie based on a book, graphic novel, or comic book if you're not going to adhere to the guidelines of said book, comic book, or graphic novel? Doesn't make any sense. And so as much as I don't think Tom Hardy has done a bad job, as much as I think that the actual aesthetics of seeing Venom and how liquid he moves around and all that, and when he comes off from Eddie and he's still attached to Eddie, but he's also looking at Eddie at the same time, I think that that's really cool. I think the, split face, we are Venom, that's really cool. The eyes, lungs, pancreas, which is what he says to Spider-Man, but they don't have that in this. But this is where it doesn't make any sense to me. Sony owns the rights to the Spider-Verse. So making a Venom movie without Venom being connected to Spider-Man doesn't make any sense because you own the rights to it. Okay, they made Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. They made 3 of them. They made 2 with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. We already saw Venom with a white spider on his chest when he was played by Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3. So you can do it. They have done it. And then when they made Madam Web and they show the futuristic Spider-Woman in her outfit, that outfit is probably the most comic book accurate outfit of really almost anything that they've done in the Sony Spider-Verse, except for the fact that they had her eyes cut out so you could just see her eyes and her skin as opposed to covering them in white. And the whole point of having the anonymity of being a superhero or vigilante or whoever is that you cover your eyes, right? Because what happens if you're wearing an entire suit that covers all of your body, but you run by a camera and the camera can do facial recognition through your eyes, they're going to know who Spider-Woman is. So that makes no sense. But there's a lot of things that haven't made sense. But Spider-Woman had a black suit with a white spider. So here's my confusion. You've already done it with Venom in Spider-Man 3. You have the rights to the Sony Spider-Verse, And you just made a Madam Web movie where you put a black suit with a white spider on Spider-Woman. So you have shown over and over and over again that you can, you just choose not to. And when the director was talking about the first Venom with Tom Hardy, the conversation was, well, this Venom doesn't have a Spider-Man backstory, so why have the spider? Why have a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Would be my question back to you. The spider makes sense. Who we know Venom to be makes sense. And you're trying to get people to get behind this movie. And there is the notion that some people have shared me that I disagree with. That because those of you that are probably watching this more often than not, or a higher percentage, are people that are fans of comic books, fans of the animated series. You know the characters, right? They say the movies are made for the masses. Okay, we want to get... There's only 1% of the people going to go see the movie that read the comic book. The other 99% have no idea what the hell's going on. We just got to make it a fun movie. I would suggest the opposite, because the movies that don't stay true to the characters end up bombing, no matter what they are, for the most part, in my opinion. And, I mean, look they made a Buzz Lightyear movie without Tim Allen, who's the voice of Buzz Lightyear. So you made Buzz without Buzz, and how did that movie do? So, and they wouldn't do a Woody movie without Tom Hanks, case in point. So why make Venom without Spider-Man? Why make Venom without the backstory that is his backstory? And if you're going to have him, if you're going to have this thing crash land and have him crawl out, why not connect him to John Jameson? I know you have the Life Foundation and all this stuff, but these aren't difficult. And by the way, this connected Sony Spider-Verse and MCU has J. Jonah Jameson in both. So if J. Jonah Jameson exists in both, that means that his son John Jameson exists, arguably. And if John Jameson exists, then that means Man-Wolf exists. And it also means Venom exists, the alien symbiote that becomes Venom. So why Sony has J. Jonah Jameson, has the rights to the spider characters, has the rights to use the Venom spider, because they've done it before, and just put it on the costume of Spider-Woman, and then still doesn't use it to this point, makes absolutely no sense. And then you have that end credit scene of Spider-Man No Way Home, where Venom licks the screen of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but there is no Spider-Man in the Venom's universe with Tom Hardy that we know. But now they're going back to the hive mind, and they're asking you to think all of these things that only someone who would read the comic books would think this deeply into. So if you make the movies for 99% of people that don't read the comic books, and you have a scene like that, that's not true. Because that scene can only be understood by the 1%, if it is the 1%, which I think it's more. And of that 1%, we don't get it. Because you told us this Venom has no connection to Spider-Man. But now the hive mind links all the symbiotes together. So another alien symbiote that becomes Venom somewhere else has the same memories as this Venom. So every black symbiote that becomes Venom in every universe has the same memories, because they're all connected to the hive mind, which is a lot of information to try to remember, especially if there is the quote-unquote belief that the majority of people that go see comic book movies have no idea what's going on in the comic books. And this, to me, would refute that, because if those are the people that you're trying to connect with, why would you do such an elaborate thing that makes no sense that connects back to the comic books? So, once again, Sony, my question is, why? Why? I would love to work at Sony. I would love to strictly work on Spider-Man films and get this thing right. I'm not saying Tobey Maguire did a bad job. I'm not saying Andrew Garfield did a bad job. I'm not saying Tom Hardy did a bad job. I'm not saying that there's things I don't like. I think Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin, hence why they used him in Spider-Man No Way Home. Why would the Marvel Cinematic Universe, why would Kevin Feige want to bring him in? He could have brought in a different one. Could have made his own. Why did he bring in Willem Dafoe? Because Willem Dafoe is fantastic at the role of the Green Goblin. So it's not even that Tom Hardy is not doing a good job as Eddie Brock. It's just, how do you have Eddie without Peter? And how do you have Venom without the spider? My question to you. Especially when we're talking about a company that allegedly has the rights to use it more than those that created it. Marvel Studios have to ask for permission to use the Venom spider if Sony has the rights to the Spider-Verse? That's a question. And maybe there's some legal documents to explain it. But again, we've already seen the White Spider show up in Madam Web with Spider-Woman and in Spider-Man 3 with Topher Grace's Venom. With that being said, this is Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora inside of the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne Studios. PBKW for short. You can find Parker Banner Kent and Wayne on your socials by going to Facebook and typing in Parker Banner Kent and Wayne. On X, you could type in PBKW. You can also do that on Instagram, and you can search them in any one of your search engines to get more information about Parker Banner Kent and Wayne. They are your one-stop comic book and gaming shop on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. Remember, as always, I don't know if Venom would like this, but he's an anti-hero. He plays hero sometimes. Your hero lies within.